Welcome to everyone. Sumeda V. Vishaka Sundari Devidasi. Also, Janaki Devidasi, nice to have you back with us. Ishwari Kumari is here. This morning well, let me introduce myself. I'm Rupanuga Das, disciple of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, grand disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. This morning's Srimad Bhagavatam discourse will be on the second canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and our texts will be 20 through 24. And we will be concentrating on the 24th shloka. And is our cordless mic working?
Yes.
Thank you very much. What did you say when you got there? Today is the first day of summer, officially. In case you hadn't noticed the temperature around here, we've been hitting up in the high 90s, and I think we'll get into the hundreds before long. That's the weather forecast. Invocation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Nitai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarjaka Charja Hasto Tadasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarjaka Charja Hasto Tadasata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki, ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Guru Parampara ki, Shri Rup, Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath, Sat Goswami Prabhu ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktarinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopa Gopinath, Shamakun, Radhakund, Giri Govardhana ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mathura Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Shri Shri Radha Kalachanji Dham ki, Ganga Devi ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Tulsi Devi ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Sambhaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki, Brihat Madanga Transcendental Book and Prasadam Distribution ki, Nitagora Premananda, Hari Bol, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudabhari Pacharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Yasan.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudirayat.
Tato Jayamudidaya.
Nasta Prayeshava Bhadreshu.
Nasta Paishu Abhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya.
Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistaki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So we're beginning with text number 20 of the second canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. This chapter, incidentally, is entitled The Cause of All Causes. We'll read all of the translations up to, I should say we'll read only the translations up to text number 24, and at that time we will read the Sanskrit as well. So Janaki Devi, would you kindly read text number 20, the translation, please? With microphone. Janaki? Yeah, anyone who speaks in here, please use the microphone because there are a lot of people out there, I think there are a lot of people out there listening online. And by the way, we welcome all of you who are listening in online because it's a very good thing to do, get the morning started, get the week started. Okay, Janaki, please.
Text 20.
20.
The meditative devotee should slowly push up the life air from the navel to the heart, from there to the chest.
I'm sorry, is that text number 20? Oh, we should be on chapter 2. Chapter 2, that's what was listed on for today. See if that's correct. If I'm wrong, we'll switch to chapter 3.
What chapter are you on? Is your chapter?
I'm sorry? Maybe I'm in the wrong chapter. Oh, I think I am. I beg your pardon. All right, let's go back to chapter 2. I'm sorry, the book marker, the page marker was in the wrong place. And I was assuming incorrectly.
What you're supposed to speak on is actually
That's what we'll do then. So we'll go to chapter 3. And this catches me totally unprepared, except for the part of my lifetime that I have been spending in preparation. Have the curtains opened already today? We're talking about this being painted? I'm asking about the curtains being closed, and Dristadumna Prabhu is telling me that the curtains will remain closed until Saturday because their lordships are being painted. Their bodies, their transcendental bodies are being painted. All right, so now, are we in the right place? Canto 2, Chapter 3, text number 20. Okay, would you read the translation, please, Janaki Devi?
One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snakes, and a tongue like the tongue of a frog.
Okay. And text number 21, please.
The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hari.
Okay. Text 22, translation.
The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, his forms, name, quality, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of the peacock. And the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered are considered to be like tree trunks.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Text 23.
Gokulananda Prabhu.
Thank you.
Text number 23,
23.
translation only.
The person who has not at any time received the dust of the feet of the Lord's pure devotee upon his head is certainly a dead body. And a person who has never experienced the aroma of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask Dristadumna Prabhu to read text number 24. Actually, we'll do the transliterations first from the Sanskrit. So I'll read, and then would you repeat line by line with me, please? Are we up? Not yet. Almost. I like this font size that's showing up on the screen. I can actually see it. Okay, so line by line, we're going to read the Sanskrit. Tad ashmasharam hridayam batedam. Once more. Tad ashmasharam hridayam batedam. Yat griya manair harinam madheyai. Yad griya manair harinam madheyai. Na vikriyetata yada vikaro. Na vikriyetata yada vikaro. Netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. Netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. All right, so please, anyone who would like, please recite, and then we'll follow. Recite the line by line, please. Tadashmasaram hridayam bhateram. Where's the mic? Navikriye tata yadas bhaktaro. Netra delam gatra ruheshu harsha. Someone else? What? Hold on. No, start over, please.
Okay, sorry. Tadashmasaram hridayam batedam
Asmasharam hridayam bhateram.
yad yamane harinamadeye
Yadgriyamanaya harinam madheyai.
navikriyetat yadakaro
Navikriyetata yadavikaro.
netre jalam gatra ruheshu harshaha.
Netre jalam gatra ruhesha hagasha. Would you bring the mic back up, please? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Your head on there. I'm sorry. I really wanted to hear you guys chant. Would you chant the shloka, please? The two of you. We keep you running.
Tad asmasaram hridayam bhatedam
Tadasmasaram hridayam bhateram.
Yagriyamanai harinamadeyai
Yadgriyamanaya harinam madheyai.
navikriyetata yadavikaro
Navikriyetata yadhavikaro.
netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsaha
Netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha.
Tadasmasaram hridayam bhateram.
Tarasmasaram hridayam bhateram.
Yadgriyamanaya harinamadeyai.
Yadgriyamanaya harinam madheyai.
Navikriyetata yadavikaro.
Navikriyetata yadavikaro.
Netre jalam gacharuheshu harshaha.
Netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. Chant, please.
Tadashmasaram hridayam bhateram yadgrihamana harinamadeyai nadvikriyata yadavikaro netre chalam gacharuhesha harsha.
Harsha. Thank you very much. Word for word translations. Tat, that. Asma saram is steel framed. Hridayam, heart. Bata, Bata idam, certainly that. Yat, which, griyamanai, in spite of chanting, Harinam, the holy name of the Lord, Deyai, by concentration of the mind, Na, does not, Vikriyeta, change, Atha, thus, Yada, when, Vikara, reaction, Netre, in the eyes, Jalam, tears, Gatra ruhesu, at the pores, Harsha, eruptions of ecstasy. I'll read the translation. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration does not change. When ecstasy takes place, tears fill the eyes and the hairs stand on end. Everybody repeat. Certainly, repeat with me, please. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and the hairs stand on end. We have quite a long purport by His Divine Grace. So, Dina Tarini, would you kindly read the first paragraph, please?
Okay. We should note with profit that in the first 3 chapters of the second canto, a gradual process of development of devotional service is being presented. In the first chapter, the first step in devotional service for God consciousness by the process of hearing and chanting has been stressed, and a gross conception of the personality of Godhead in His universal form for the beginners is recommended. By such a gross concept of God through the material manifestations of His energy, one is enabled to spiritualize the mind and the senses and gradually concentrate the mind upon Lord Vishnu, the Supreme, who is present as the Supersoul in every heart and everywhere, in every atom of the material universe. The system of Pancha Upasana recommending 5 mental attitudes for the common man is also enacted for this purpose, namely gradual development, worship of the superior that may be in the form of fire, electricity, the sun, the mass of living beings, Lord Shiva, and at last the impersonal Supersoul. The partial representation of Lord Vishnu. They are all nicely described in the second chapter, but in the third chapter, further development is prescribed after one has actually reached the stage of Vishnu worship, or pure devotional service, and the mature stage of Vishnu worship is suggested herein in relation to the change of heart.
So, Madhavi, would you please read the second paragraph?
The whole process of spiritual culture is aimed at changing the heart of the living being in the matter of his eternal relation with the Supreme Lord as subordinate servant, which is his eternal constitutional position. So, with the progress of devotional service, the reaction of change in the heart is exhibited by gradual detachment from the sense of material enjoyment, by a false sense of lording it over the world, and an increase in the attitude of rendering loving service to the Lord. Vidya Bhakti, or regulated devotional service by the limbs of the body, namely the eyes, the ears, the nose, the hands, and the legs, as already explained here and before, is now stressed herein in relation to the mind, which is the impetus for all activities of the limbs of the body. It is expected by all means that by discharging regulated devotional service, one must manifest the change of heart. If there is no such change, the heart must be considered steel-framed, for it is not melted even when there is chanting of the holy name of the Lord. We must always remember that hearing and chanting are the basic principles of discharging devotional duties, and if they are properly performed, there will follow the reactional ecstasy with signs of tears in the eyes and standing of the hairs on the body. These are natural consequences and are the preliminary symptoms of the bhav stage, which occurs before one reaches the perfectional stage of prema, love of Godhead.
Okay, Janaki Devi, please.
If the reaction does not take place, even after continuous hearing and chanting of the holy name of the Lord, it may be considered to be due to offenses only. That is the opinion of the Sandarbha. In the beginning of chanting of the holy name of the Lord, if the devotee has not been very careful about evading the 10 kinds of offenses at the feet of the holy name, certainly the reaction of feelings of separation will not be visible by tears in the eyes and standing of the hair on end.
Is that word evading similar to the word avoiding? If the devotee has not been very careful about evading the 10 kinds of offenses at the feet of the holy name, what is the difference between avoiding them and evading them? I think they're pretty close together in their meaning. Go ahead, please, Janaki Devi.
I think the word evading implies that it's kind of like offenses are going to attack you. It's part of the conditioning. And so you have to see them and avoid them. Whereas avoid them, they might be there and you just go around. But evading means that they'll probably be there and you have to make an effort to avoid.
Okay, I accept that. I think that's good. Evading seems like it means to give wide berth or wide space between you and those offenses. Similar to avoiding, but it seems a little bit stronger in its intent. Janaki, would you please read that next paragraph?
The bhava stage is manifested by 8 transcendental symptoms, namely inertness, perspiration, standing of hairs on end, failing in the voice, trembling, paleness of the body, tears in the eyes, and finally trance. The Nectar of Devotion, a summary study of Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explains those symptoms and vividly describes other transcendental developments, both in steady and accelerating manifestations.
Okay, that the text there is mentioned, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What do we know that text by? Gokulanand Prabhu. And keep the mic back there because I want you to read the next paragraph. Go ahead and answer the question first. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What do we know that book by?
Okay, it's written by Srila Rupa Goswami, and it's all about the science of bhakti, how to render the devotional service, about pros and cons.
Nectar of Devotion, did you say?
Yeah, Nectar of Devotion.
Okay, all right, that's correct. Now, would you read that next paragraph?
Okay. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has very critically discussed all these bhava displays in connection with some unscrupulous neophytes imitating the above symptoms for cheap appreciation. Not only Vishwanath Chakravarti, but also Srila Rupa Goswami treated them very critically. Sometimes all the above 8 symptoms of ecstasy are imitated by the mundane devotees, Prakrita Sahajas, but the pseudo symptoms are at once detected when one sees the pseudo devotee addicted to so many forbidden things. Even though decorated with the signs of a devotee, a person addicted to smoking, drinking, or illegitimate sex with women cannot have all the above-mentioned ecstatic symptoms. But it is seen that sometimes the symptoms are willfully imitated, and for this reason Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti accuses the imitators of being stone-hearted men. They are sometimes even affected by the reflection of such transcendental symptoms. Yet, if they still do not give up the forbidden habits, then they are hopeless cases for transcendental realization.
Okay, so that term sahajas, prakrita sahajas, persons who are imitating the activity of those who are really, truly transcendentally situated. that goes for sometimes crying. I've even heard that a certain Indian lady came into one of the ISKCON temples, and she was sitting down, and suddenly she I think she had some followers with her. She fell over backwards in a state of so-called ecstasy. I think Prabhupada instructed his devotees that you have to be careful about dealing with people like that, giving them a lot of respect, which is what they apparently want, and they want following, and the material benefits that come with such a following. Okay, who's got the mic now? Oh, actually, I would like Padristadumna Prabhu to read the next paragraph, please.
When Lord Chaitanya met Srila Ramananda Roy of Kavar on the bank of Godavari, the Lord developed all these symptoms, but because of the presence of some non-devotee Brahmins who were attendants of the Raya, the Lord suppressed these symptoms. So sometimes they are not visible, even in the body of the first-class devotee, for certain circumstantial reasons. Therefore, real steady bhava is definitely displayed in the matter of cessation of material desires, kshanti, utilization of every moment in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, avyartha kalatvam, eagerness for glorifying the Lord constantly, namagane sadaruchi, attraction for living in the land of the Lord, pritish tad vasati stale, complete detachment from material happiness, vikarti, virakti, and pridelessness, mana shuyata. One who has developed all these transcendental qualities is really possessed of the Bhava stage, as distinguished from the stone-hearted imitator or mundane devotee.
Okay, and I want to go back to Janaki, please. Would you read that last paragraph of the purport?
The whole process can be summarized as follows. The advanced devotee who chants the holy name of the Lord in a perfectly offenseless manner and is friendly to everyone can actually relish the transcendental taste of glorifying the Lord. And the result of such realization is reflected in the cessation of all material desires, etc. As mentioned above, the neophytes, due to their being in the lower stage of devotional service, are invariably envious, so much so that they invent their own ways and means of devotional regulations without following the acharyas. As such, even if they make a show of constantly chanting the holy name of the Lord, they cannot relish the transcendental taste of the holy name. Therefore, the show of tears in the eyes, trembling, perspiration, unconsciousness, etc. is condemned. They can, however, get in touch with a pure devotee of the Lord and rectify their bad habits. Otherwise, they shall continue to be stone-hearted and unfit for any treatment. A complete progressive march on the return path home, back to Godhead, will depend on the instructions of the revealed scriptures directed by a realized devotee.
Om Gyanatimidandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Maya Darati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagratatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Savadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakan Chana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pistaya Bhutale Srimate Tamal Krishna Goswami Namane. Srila Prabhupada, we have just a very short time here for emphasis of some of the points, or one of the points. So I want to talk about one in particular, and that is, as devotees, we are taught that we're not supposed to criticize other people. So before we can criticize, usually we make a judgment, do we not? And then that thought comes out of our mouths in the form of criticism. But I pointed out once before that in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 28, I believe, texts 1 and 2, it is strongly stated that one should not criticize others, because everyone is at some stage or another under the influence of the material energy of the Supreme Lord, including myself. So if I am under the influence of the material energy of the Supreme Lord, then how is it that I can criticize someone else who is also maybe exhibiting symptoms of being under the material influence of the Supreme Lord? So Prabhupada said that we should not criticize anyone for being dirty if they happen to be in the shower. So if we are making an attempt to advance in Krishna consciousness, and if we're also trying to give that knowledge that we have so graciously been given by someone else, then we are performing bhakti yoga as Srila Prabhupada has instructed us to. And Prabhupada points out in here that bhakti yoga can be executed using all of our limbs, including our mind. So our five senses, knowledge-acquiring senses, I guess we could call them, can be used in the service of the Supreme Lord. Hands, feet, legs, arms, eyes, ears, nose, all of these functions or faculties of the human body can be used in performing some devotional service. And I'm really attracted to the one about the tongue. The tongue can be used in devotional service by honoring prasadam. And I'm really good at that, Gokulana Prabhu. Also, smelling, the sense of smell, it was said that the four Kumaras who, right after they had cursed gatekeepers Jai and Vijay, and Lord Vishnu came, or Lord Narayan, I should say, came running out and accepting the responsibility for having set this whole thing up for Jai and Vijay. Even the four Kumaras who were self-realized souls who had the power to maintain a very childlike body. They even had that kind of power that they could determine not to grow up. But nonetheless, they were very, very highly advanced souls. And they were the sons of Lord Brahma. And so they were attracted by their noses to what? Tulsi. Tulsi, located where? On the feet of Lord Narayan, on the feet of their spiritual master. So the fragrance of the Tulsi attracted them. And so it is said in the Atmarama verse, quoted by, I think, by Lord Chaitanya, Atmarama Chamunayo, means that even those great souls who are completely realized and self-satisfied are attracted by the instructions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, by hearing about the topics of the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada then has asked us, please to read his books. Prabhupada spent so much time and energy in the latter part of his life when he could be bouncing his grandkids on his knee. He spent that in coming to one of the most degraded parts of the United States, the Bowery in New York, and not having any set place to stay for a whole year. And he, during that time, he went on with his translating, went on with his preaching to his young disciples, those who were coming for the first time. And so, as Prabhupada has instructed us, so we must also follow. So, stay away from envy. Try to engage all of your bodily faculties in service to the Supreme Lord. And I think that we'll do okay if we do that. What do you think? All right, I'm going to stop here, and now we've got 6 minutes left in this session. I'm going to ask if anyone has comments or questions. And I want you to use the microphone if you speak, please.
Since the purport is talking about bhava, the ecstatic symptoms, I just remembered this morning when, while greeting the deities, I was sharing this with another devotee.
Directly in front of your mouth. Yeah.
Okay. So I was sharing this with another devotee, how I recollected, back in Mumbai temple when Mother Yamuna, she happened to visit the temple. And all of us, we know that she's the one who sang that beautiful Govinda Madhipurusham, right? So, as the darshan opened, by some inconceivable arrangement of the Lord, the power went off or the audio system shut down abruptly. And then everyone started looking at, even Radhana Swami was there, so he just waved at her and she started. And she was singing with so much love, It was direct reciprocation between them. Krishna and Mother Yamuna. And after the darshan, during the Bhagavatam class, I just kept looking at her, and I could see, I was so much amazed to see the tears profusely and incessantly gliding down her cheeks, all throughout the Bhagavatam class. So I think Prabhupada did say that she was on bhava level stage. So that just came to my mind.
Yes, so when those, well, have you ever had those symptoms yourself? Gokulanand Prabhu. I've experienced that one time when I first saw Sri Panchatattva in Mayapur Dham. And this was probably in, I think the first time, maybe 2005, either 2005 or 2011, I can't remember. And when the curtains opened and I saw them, just like an automatic reaction to seeing them, I just couldn't, I couldn't prevent it, the tears coming from my eyes. And I didn't understand it, but I just had to go with it. And about that time, some little short Indian-bodied person came up to me, looked up at me, and then gave me a big hug. And I presume he was one of the persons who lived in the Dham. Has anybody else experienced that? Yes, and you have the microphone. Would you, if you don't mind, telling us when was it?
Mine was also in Mayapur, but when I saw Radha Madhava, I'd been living in Mayapur for like a year and a half at that point, and I'd seen Radha Madhava every day, but it was just this one darshan where they opened the deities and Govinda Madhipurusham was playing, and I started they were so beautiful, I couldn't help myself from crying. So.
What can you do? Yeah. So that's the kind of automatic reaction that should come when we're chanting the holy names. And unfortunately for me, I've got one of those steel jacketed hearts, which has not allowed me to experience the ecstasy of chanting the holy names. So I'm just following my spiritual master's instruction to continue chanting. Early on, one of Prabhupada's early disciples, he whenever Prabhupada would enter the room, everybody else would bow down, but he would not. I think it was Gargamuni Prabhu, and he would not bow down. And later, a little bit later, he talked to Srila Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, I see everybody else bowing down, but I don't feel like bowing down. And so Prabhupada said, just do it and the feeling will come. So I've got a very small amount of faith that if I just continue chanting the names of the Lord and trying my best to follow the regulative principles of freedom, they're called. If I can do that, then I feel that the feeling will come and the ecstasy will come. And if I didn't have that kind of faith, then it would be really difficult for me to continue doing what I've been doing since about 1973 or so. So we keep trying, even though it seems difficult, even though we're not getting the kind of taste that we would like. Sometimes we even though we don't get the taste in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, which is our goal, still, in being around certain individuals, we feel something going on inside us. When you're around a really holy person like Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, being around a person like that, like Radhanath Swami Maharaj, so many persons whose names I could mention, if we're around them, if we listen to, sometimes even just listening to their recorded voices on the internet will produce something inside us. Like we say in the heart, in this part of the body, in the middle of the body here, that's where Super Soul is said to be residing in each one of our bodies. And since we don't have that kind of realization that we can see or detect Super Soul directly, still we might take one of those followers who is very powerful in his or her spiritual life, and that will give us the kind of feeling that we long to have. We beg for, we pray for, we cry for to have that feeling. And what Prabhupada says, if you don't cry when you're chanting the holy names, then you should cry because you cannot cry. In other words, just keep trying. And someday we may get the desired effect that we have. We have time for just a quick question. Does anybody else have anything that has come to mind that you want to bring up? It doesn't have to be a question, it could be a comment. Gokulan Prabhu. Microphone.
One just quick comment.
Speak very loud and right into the microphone, please.
In the purport, it talks about how the devotees who are elevated devotees who are situated at the Prema Bhakti level, they might experience, or rather they do experience the ecstatic symptoms, but they may not exhibit, right, in the public. So I just recollected in one of the lectures, one person, he asked His Holiness Radhanath Swami, how do we understand, there are pure devotees experiencing the ecstasy, and how do we know in ISKCON we have pure devotees around? So he gave a very interesting answer. He said, it takes one to know one. So unless, we are at that level, we cannot, and we should not dare to, rather Jesus Christ also said, right? So we should not judge anyone, so it is not up to us. And Srila Prabhupada, I think he also said, in ISKCON, practically everyone is potentially a pure devotee in that sense, right? So that's a comment.
Thank you very much. Nice comment. Anything else? All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. And we offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just like desire trees, who fulfill the desires of everyone and who are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned soul. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Kalachandidam Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premananda, Hari Hari Bol.